Okay, today's episode is different, which I like. The past few episodes have been kind of dark and gloomy, and those are fun and all, but um this one's on the lighter side. Imagine a book, 600 years old, 240 pages of handwritten text and illustrations, plants that don't exist anywhere in nature, astronomical diagrams that don't match any known star systems, naked women bathing in what appears to be green pools connected by tubes that look disturbingly like human organs. And every single word, every single letter, written in a language that no one in 600 years has been able to read. Not linguists, not historians, not mathematicians, not Alan Turing, the man who cracked the Nazi Enigma code and arguably won World War II with his mind, not the FBI, not the NSA, not even artificial intelligence. Nobody. This book has been studied continuously for over a century. It has defeated every single person who has ever tried to understand it, and we still don't know who wrote it. We don't know why it was written, we don't know what language it's written in, and we don't even know if it means anything at all. This is the Voynich Manuscript, and it might be the greatest unsolved puzzle in human history. Let me tell you what we actually know about the Voynich Manuscript, because the facts themselves are almost as strange as the mystery. The manuscript currently lives in the Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University. It sits in a climate-controlled vault. Yale has made high-resolution digital scans available to everyone in the world for free, and I'll put that link in the description so you can look at it yourself after watching this, because you have to see it just to believe it. It's pretty interesting. Carbon dating of the vellum, the calfskin pages, places the manuscript's creation between 1404 and 1438. Early 15th century, medieval Italy, most likely. That much we know. The manuscript is 240 pages long, though researchers believe it originally had at least 272 pages, meaning some were removed or lost at some point in its history. By whom, when, why, that's all unknown. The text flows left to right, like English or Latin, and appears to be organized into words and sentences. There are patterns consistent with natural language. Certain characters appear more frequently. Certain combinations repeat in ways that suggest grammar and structure. It behaves like a real language. But nobody has ever been able to assign a meaning to a single word. The illustrations are divided into sections that researchers have given names based on what they appear to show. The botanical section. That's the largest section. Over 100 pages of detailed plant illustrations, roots, leaves, flowers, seeds, rendered with the precision of a trained medieval herbalist. There's just one problem. Botanists have examined every single plant in the manuscript. None of them match any known species on Earth. They look almost real, close enough to feel familiar, but wrong in ways that are hard to pin down, like plants from a world that is almost, but not quite ours. The astronomical section. Pages filled with circular diagrams, suns, moons, stars, what appear to be zodiac symbols. Some pages fold out to reveal enormous diagrams spanning multiple pages. Astronomers have studied them extensively. The star patterns don't match any known constellation system from any culture, ancient or modern. The balneological section. This is the section that stops people cold. Page after page of naked women, dozens of them, bathing in green and blue pools. The pools are connected by an elaborate network of tubes and pipes. Some of the tubes appear to emerge from what looks like human organs. The women appear calm, almost ritualistic. No one has any idea what this section means. A medical treatise about the human body? A religious ritual? Something else entirely? The pharmaceutical section. Drawings of containers, jars, vials, vessels, containing herbs and roots, like an apothecary's catalog, but for medicines that don't exist. The recipe section. 300 short paragraphs, each marked with a small star-shaped symbol. Nobody knows what their recipe's for, and nobody knows what the stars mean. Here's what we know about the manuscript's journey through history, and there are some remarkable gaps. The manuscript was created sometime between 1404 and 1438. Then, nothing. No record, no mention, no trace. For over 150 years, the Voynich Manuscript simply doesn't appear in any historical record. It surfaces again in the late 1500s at the court of Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II in Prague. Rudolf was famous for collecting rare, strange, and occult objects. He had a genuine obsession with the mysterious and the arcane. He reportedly paid 600 gold ducats for the manuscript, equivalent to roughly $90,000 today. Clearly, he believed it was worth something. After Rudolf's death, the manuscript passed through several hands. Alchemists, scholars, Jesuit priests, each of them tried to decipher it. Each of them failed. In 1666, a letter was written by a Bohemian physician named Johannes Marci, addressed to a famous Jesuit scholar named Athanasius Kircher, who was considered one of the greatest intellects in Europe. Marci sent Kircher the manuscript and essentially begged him to decode it. Kircher, who had successfully translated Egyptian hieroglyphics, studied it carefully. He couldn't read a word. The manuscript then disappeared into the Jesuit archives for nearly 250 years. In 1912, a Polish rare book dealer named Wilfred Voynich was sorting through a collection of books at a Jesuit castle in Italy when he came across something extraordinary. A strange illustrated manuscript in an unknown language. He bought it immediately. He spent the rest of his life trying to figure out what it said. He never did. After his death, the manuscript eventually made its way to Yale University, where it has lived ever since, studied, scanned, puzzled over, and still completely unread. In 2024, Yale made multispectral scans of 10 pages publicly available, revealing the hidden writings that had been invisible to the naked eye for centuries. Letters, columns, faded attempts at decipherment by one of the manuscript's early owners. Someone else had tried to crack it, and failed, and the evidence of their failure had been sitting there, invisible, for 400 years. So what is the Voynich Manuscript? Here are the leading theories, including two brand new ones from 2024 and 2026 that most people haven't heard yet. The simplest explanation, and in many ways the most disturbing one, is that the Voynich Manuscript doesn't mean anything at all. It's complete gibberish, and that's a possibility. That's a strong possibility that we've just been duped for, 600 years. It could have been created by a skilled medieval forger who invented a convincing-looking script, drew bizarre but intricate illustrations, and sold it to a series of wealthy collectors who were just too embarrassed to admit they couldn't read it. Remember, Rudolf II paid the equivalent of $90,000 for it. If you've paid that much for something, you're probably not in a rush to admit you were conned. Statistical analysis of the text does show some genuinely strange patterns, though. The script has a lower entropy than most natural languages, meaning its letter sequences are more predictable than real writing. Some linguists argue this is consistent with a constructed nonsense system designed to look like language without actually being one. But here's the problem with the hoax theory. Creating 240 pages of consistent fake language, with repeating patterns, sections, divisions, structural logic, would have been almost impossibly difficult in a time-consuming task. The effort required to fake it at this level is arguably greater than the effort required to write something real. Why would anyone bother? Another possibility? The manuscript is written in a real language, just one that has never been documented anywhere else. Perhaps a constructed philosophical language. There was genuine interest in invented languages among medieval scholars. Perhaps a dialect or regional language that died out and left no other written traces. Perhaps a highly personal private language created by one individual and never shared with anyone else. The problem is that without any known vocabulary, grammar rules, or comparison text, there's no way to begin deciphering it. Every attempt requires making assumptions that can't be verified, and every attempt has eventually collapsed under the weight of those assumptions. This is the theory that has attracted the most serious cryptographers. The idea, the Voynich manuscript, is written in a real language, Latin, Italian, Hebrew, Arabic, but encoded using a cipher system sophisticated enough to have resisted cracking for 600 years. Alan Turing studied it, the FBI studied it, teams of professional cryptographers with access to the most advanced computational tools in existence have studied it. The problem that keeps emerging is this: every encryption system leaves mathematical fingerprints, patterns in the patterns. The Voynich text doesn't match the fingerprints of any known cipher system, which either means the encryption used is unlike anything ever seen before, or the text isn't actually encrypted language at all. In 2024, 2 researchers published a paper in the Social History of Medicine journal with a genuinely new angle on the manuscript. Their theory: the Voynich Manuscript is a medical text specifically about women's health, gynecology, conception, contraception, and related topics. Subjects that were considered so dangerous and scandalous in medieval Europe that physicians routinely wrote them in cipher to prevent the wrong people from reading them. The naked women bathing in pools, not a ritual, not a fantasy, but a depiction of gynecological processes. The unknown plants, real herbs used in women's medicine, deliberately altered in the illustrations to prevent identification by those who might misuse them. The pharmaceutical section, contraceptive recipes, encoded to protect the author from prosecution by the church. The researchers point to a real historical figure, a Bavarian physician named Johannes Hartlieb, who lived around the same time the manuscript was created. Hartlieb explicitly recommended using secret letters to conceal medical knowledge about women's bodies, knowledge he feared could be misused. It's a compelling theory. It explains the content, it explains the encoding, it explains the bizarre illustrations, but it still doesn't tell us how to read a single word. The most recent theory comes from a 2026 study, and it's genuinely unlike anything proposed before. Researchers suggest that the Voynich Manuscript was encoded using a medieval card game called Nabi, an early form of playing cards that was popular in 15th century Italy. The theory works like this. The Nabi deck had a specific structure: suits, ranks, symbolic images. A skilled encoder could use the deck as a cipher key, assigning letters or words to specific cards, shuffling the deck to create the encryption, and producing text that would be completely unreadable to anyone who didn't know which deck to use and in what order. Combined with the women's secret theory about the content, researchers in 2026 are suggesting we now have both the subject and the method: a medieval text about women's health, encoded using a card game cipher, written by a physician in early 15th century northern Italy. Has it ever been cracked? No, not even close. But for the first time in over a century, the puzzle has edges, and that is genuinely remarkable. Before we get to my take, I want to tell you about a few details of the Voynich manuscript that don't fit neatly into any theory, because even if we solved the language tomorrow, these things would still be deeply strange. The manuscript was written by at least 5 different people. Handwriting analysis has identified 5 distinct scribes, meaning this wasn't one person's private journal. It was a collaborative project, 5 people working together on a 240-page book in an unknown language. Some pages were deliberately removed. We know from the page numbering that at least 28 pages are missing. Someone took them out. We don't know when, we don't know why, we don't know what was on them. The plants in the botanical section have been compared to every known flora database on Earth. Some of them come very close to real plants, close enough that researchers believe they might be intentional alterations of real species. Like the author took real plants and changed them just enough to make them unrecognizable, to protect recipes that could be dangerous in the wrong hands perhaps, or to create a visual language that only the intended reader would understand. And then there is the fold-out page. One section of the manuscript unfolds to reveal a page that spans 9 panels. It shows a large circular diagram, stars, symbols, tubes, connections of extraordinary complexity. It is unlike anything else in the manuscript. It is unlike anything else in any known medieval document. Nobody has any idea what it is. Here's where I land in the Voynich manuscript. I don't think it's a hoax. The effort involved in creating 240 pages of consistent, internally structured fake language, with multiple scribes, multiple sections, elaborate botanical and astronomical illustrations, it's just too enormous to be explained by a simple con. A medieval forger smart enough to create this could have made far more money doing almost literally anything else. There's also been talk that it was aliens, which I don't think it's aliens, not because I dismiss the idea of things we don't understand, but because the manuscript is clearly rooted in medieval European artistic and scientific traditions. The plants, the zodiac imagery, the bathing women, these are things a 15th century European physician or scholar would draw, just encoded. I think the 2024 women's secret theory combined with the 2026 Navy cipher is the most compelling explanation I've seen. A physician in early 15th century northern Italy writing about women's health, gynecology, contraception, pregnancy, in a world where that knowledge could get you killed by the church. Using a card game as a cipher key because only the intended reader would know which deck to use. Employing multiple scribes to speed up production of something that needed to stay secret. Drawing real plants in disguised form to protect their identity. It fits. It doesn't fully solve it, but it fits. What I keep coming back to, though, is the humans behind this. Somebody wrote this book. Somebody spent years on it. 5 people working together on something they clearly believed was important enough to protect with an unbreakable code. They succeeded beyond anything they could have ever imagined. 600 years later, with the full power of modern cryptography and artificial intelligence at our disposal, we still can't read what they wrote. Whatever it says, they really didn't want just anyone to know. That's the Voynich Manuscript, the most mysterious book in human history. 600 years old, 240 pages, 5 scribes, and 0 translations. I'm putting a link to Yale's digital scan in the description. Go look at it, spend some time with it, try and solve it. You're looking at something that has defeated every human mind that has ever tried to understand it. Who knows, maybe you'll get it. If you get it, that'd be crazy. You'd probably be pretty famous, I'm just saying. But what theory do you believe? Is it a hoax, a hidden medical text, an alien guidebook, or something else entirely? Tell me in the comments, genuinely. I want to know what you think about this one. This one was really fun doing. If the obscured past is new to you, welcome. Every week we dig into the history that got buried, forgotten, or encoded. Subscribe so you never miss what we uncover next. Until then, stay curious and question everything.